welcome to the special sponsored feature show on CNNIB and OP Jindal Global University presents Global Careers in Law, International Affairs, Business and Public Policy. Globalization, liberalization and an open economy have made it possible today to work with the rest of the world as a global citizen with a global career. However, a sound education, exposure and highly developed skills are what will give you an edge to have a fantastic professional career internationally. Focus of the show today, what is a global career and how can you have one?
We live in a globalized world. A world where everything we see, learn or experience connects us to something or someone halfway across the world. This wave of globalization, especially in India, presents us with great opportunities and a wider access to knowledge, but also poses a far greater challenge of understanding other cultures, traditions and characteristics that influence other societies. To address this challenge, educational institutions in India are increasingly turning to a system of education that not only focuses on following the best education practices, but also stresses on providing a global experience by discussing problems of global interest and nature.
OP Jindal Global University is a multidisciplinary research-intensive university with 4 different schools. Jindal Global Law School, Jindal Global Business School, Jindal School of International Affairs and Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. OP Jindal Global University was established because of the philanthropic initiative and contribution of Mr. Naveen Jindal, who is its founding chancellor.
To talk more about this, let me first welcome my panelists. I welcome you all. Let me start by introducing Professor Sanjeev S. Sahni, Professor Business School and Member Governing Body, OP Jindal Global University. Professor C. Rajkumar, Vice Chancellor, Jindal Global University and Dean Law School, OP Jindal Global University. Professor R. Sudarshan, Dean Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. And Professor Sriram Sundarchalya, Dean Jindal School of International Affairs. I welcome you all. Professor Raj, let me first start with you. Global education, what does it mean?
Well, the fundamental aspect of what we mean by global education is that we are recognizing that globalization has had a profound impact on all aspects of life, including education. At our university, what we do with regard to global education is that we have recognized that the nature of the curriculum, including courses, faculty, research, and all of which ought to have a global dimension. Now, this aspect of global dimension is essential for all disciplines because increasingly the kind of impact that globalization has had on all these study areas as well as careers is affecting the way the entire framework of education ought to take place. Increasingly, Indian students are aspiring to work in global settings, and this doesn't mean that they have to work abroad. Even within India, they need to be conscious of the fact that globalization is affecting their work, and that is why it's important to integrate globalization within the context of education.
Professor Sriram, what are the key disciplines that actually need an understanding from a global point of view, a global perspective?
If you look at the legal profession, the way it's advanced, clearly there's so much transboundary activity going on. It's impossible to be knowledgeable only about one jurisdiction and to somehow pass muster. So it's the same with the other disciplines we have on offer in the university, be it public policy, international affairs, business certainly. All of them require people who are capable of crisscrossing the jurisdictions of individual countries, of understanding comparative perspectives, of being able to draw parallels and look at similarities and differences among the same phenomena occurring in different parts of the world at the same time. And that's how we are able to create this corpus of knowledge which will equip people to be outstanding and to shine in their careers across the world.
Professor Sahni, a degree in business management remains the most sought for. What do you think needs to change in the way we teach our students today that they are able to work with a global perspective?
Everyone in the B schools are talking about highly specialized courses. Whereas when a person after 5 years, 10 years reaches at the level of the senior level in the industry, in that way those people have to know about all other disciplines as well within the business school. So we have a generalized program and we train them on generalized management education. The second is I would say, a lack of innovation, because most of the B schools are basically adopting the curriculum from reputed B schools. Whereas what is required in an industry, we have to frame the curriculum accordingly. The third major problem what I've felt is that lack of research.
Right.
Now the global research as well as to give enough initiative to the research is not happening at the moment. Number of people doing summer internships in industry, but how good the research projects they are carrying out is something we are offering to our students in the business school. When we talk about a global business school, I would say that there are two things happens. One, we train them about the complexities of the global environment.
Right.
And second, we empower them to make them the global leaders.
Professor Raj, if I may ask you, we are talking about legal education in the country, and the industry has seen such a huge change, whether it is corporate law or now the legal outsourcing. Has there been a change in the way now legal schools are looking at education, and how do you make a difference?
People who study law are no longer seeking only to become a practicing lawyer. The expanding nature of transactional work across multiple business settings as well as jurisdictions has provided a new opportunity for many law graduates to seek beyond what used to be the only option.
And what advice would you give to students who are actually taking up law?
Well, I think, in the Indian context, it's a fascinating career opportunity. I have always believed that, the history of our country was so intimately connected to the importance of lawyers. Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer, Nehru was a lawyer, Sardar Patel was a lawyer, Ambedkar was a lawyer. The foundations of Indian democracy were in many ways shaped by the role of lawyers. Of course, over the years, the nature and contours of law and legal profession has significantly changed. But today, if I were to identify one of the most not only attractive in terms of financial incentives, but also in terms of satisfaction, what a lawyer could do, there is a phenomenal opportunity for lawyers to work both in domestic context within India as well as international. Increasingly, as India aspires to establish a rule of law society, law and rules and regulations will be the critical aspect in which lawyers will shape the future of both Indian democracy as well as the nature of business and society.
Let me talk about international affairs. Professor Sriram, do you think there is a need for a unique and a more specific degree now in the field of international affairs vis-a-vis what used to be in the past?
Absolutely. Times have changed, and the combination of disciplines is what makes international studies holistic and complete. In the past, we have done political science subfield called international relations only at the master's level. But what we have been offering at OP Jindal Global University is an attempt to create a composite or a synthetic international affairs program, what we call the Masters in Diplomacy, Law and Business. And the need for it is ever greater today because the interrelation between states, markets, and the regulatory environment in which these two interact is what is creating the policy space in which all human conduct is occurring right now.
But Professor, are there enough opportunities, or is it a niche industry?
No, I certainly think this is a growing. If you look at the top graduate schools of international affairs around the world, in the United States and in Europe, in Japan and elsewhere, the students who come out of these schools have been doing exceedingly well. Our own students have been doing quite well in international non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations, think tanks, in the field of peace and conflict resolution, human rights, humanitarian relief, international justice, just to throw around a few. I mean, there are so many immense opportunities if you have a broad-based interdisciplinary master's education in global affairs.
If I raise a question on public policy, Professor Sudarshan, it was usually considered the domain of government and Sarkari Babus. But how has it changed in the past? And if someone's interested in this discipline, how do they go about it? What would you suggest? What are the aspects and opportunities available? And is education now different for this discipline?
Yes, it is. It's very different now. The role of government is not what it used to be. The role of government is vital and important, which is why the school is called the School of Government and Public Policy, not to underestimate the importance of government. But what's happened is that earlier, where a group of people who regarded themselves as public servants or civil servants. They felt that they were the custodians of the public interest,
Right.
and the decisions they took are in the public interest by definition. But that's no longer the case. We now have a fantastic growth of the media. We have a number of non-governmental civil society organizations. So our democracy has become one where there are constant appraisals of performance, demands, rising expectations on the part of the public, and a greater need for understanding the implications of what is a good policy decision and what is a bad policy decision.
So how do you train students in deciding that? What is the kind of maturity do you expect from them once they finish the course?
The entire point of the education is not whether they remember certain facts and can recite what the population of India is or what its poverty rate is, but to cultivate the art of making practical judgment. In order to do that, you need to be able to differentiate analysis that is sound and analysis that is bogus. In order to be able to do that, you need to have some thorough grounding and grasp of some essential disciplines. So it's really training in methods, in making judgments. So, you know, in a way, education is what remains after you've forgotten all the facts and the equations that have been put on the blackboard. And what remains is an individual with a sense of professional integrity and ethics, because the whole outlook that we need to instill in students of public policy is the common weal. What is in the public interest as properly understood? And that means you need to have compassion, you need to have empathy, you need to understand how people live, what are their aspirations,
Right.
because
Right.
policy, public policy affects the lives of everyone.
So on that note, I'll take a short break. But when we come back, we discuss the dynamics of this global education and how does it benefit India. Keep watching. Welcome back. You're watching this special sponsored feature show on CNN IBN. OP Jindal Global University presents Global Careers in Law, Business, International Affairs and Public Policy. Let me take the discussion forward and put a question to Professor Raj. So what collaborations, specifically international collaborations that we are talking about, global faculty we are talking about, how does it make a difference in the quality of education?
Well, you know, increasingly, as I mentioned, in a world that is significantly globalized, students have aspirations to understand the world better. One of the reasons why we have been able to hire faculty from around the world is to provide that opportunity. And this international orientation is contributed both by Indian faculty with strong international experiences, be it education or work or other forms of experiences, as well as international faculty coming as full-time faculty members at our university. Our schools have strong international collaborations with universities around the world. These collaborations include, but not limited to, faculty exchanges, student exchanges, joint teaching arrangements, joint research projects, joint conferences, and even double degree programs. Now, the fundamental objective of these collaborations is to connect the institutional experiences of more than 2 or 3 universities and countries involved so that we give the best opportunity for our students.
Professor Sudarshan, an important aspect of global careers is an understanding of the global know-how and the work culture of various disciplines, people, and also it is also country specific if you look at it from the way people work. Are there any special tools that you incorporate in your curriculum which prepare the students for that?
The primary focus is the challenges in this country. And the challenge in this country is that it is trying to achieve economic growth, eliminate poverty. It's trying to make a very hierarchical, socially segmented, divided society into a more understanding society. Not that the divisions would go away, but there's more tolerance and understanding. And it's a democracy where everyone has the vote, and the combination of all these 3 challenges is phenomenal. And it means that you simply cannot focus on the one discipline or the other. You need to have a very fine-tuned understanding of culture, how people in one of the most diverse countries in the world relate to and understand one another. So in a way, a global understanding, India is a kind of a microcosm of the macrocosm, which is the entire world. The diversities, the management of those diversities, understanding strengths of each other, these are special skills. I mean, this is not a question of a subject where you're learning facts A, B, C, D.
Right.
This is about an outlook.
Professor, is it also challenging to develop leaders? Because when we talk about public policy, and as you rightly mentioned, there are these aspects that you would want your student to inculcate in them. So is it also challenging dealing with students who are likely to study something that is of public relevance in the future?
Leadership requires judgment. You differentiate good leaders from bad leaders from the kinds of judgments they make. And in order to make good judgment, you can and need to a certain extent, rely on intuition, but increasingly in the kind of world we are in, you need to rely on empirical evidence. So focus on quantitative and qualitative research methods and tools, and a command over using and applying those tools will stand a long way and make a difference to the quality of leadership.
Professor Sriram, if I talk about international affairs, this discipline is dynamic than all others because you can't have a set curriculum for it. It has to go, it has to see a change in itself from time to time. How challenging is it to develop those special tools or develop a curriculum for a field which is so dynamic and changing all the time?
Well, that's why we have a set of elective courses which are open to experimentation and calibration as per the changing global scenario. For example, if piracy has become a huge maritime security problem, we can offer a specialized elective on countering maritime piracy, counter-terrorism, climate change, multilateral trade, all the big questions of our time. As the specifics evolve, the course curriculum has to catch up with it and somehow be avant-garde enough to be able to also anticipate future problems that may arise in these fields.
I'll come to my final question, which is global education. How does it benefit India?
Global education is about having a well-grounded and sound understanding of the world and how it affects young people and their aspirations. But in the context of law, one of the unique examples the Jindal Global Law School has provided for is to offer unique double degree programs which will allow students of India to be able to get a law degree from India and the US and simultaneously be able to practice in two jurisdictions. The LLB and JD degrees, which are provided by Jindal Global Law School and US law schools together, will allow Indian graduates to be able to practice both in India and in the US, and that in my view is one of the most outstanding and unique examples of how integrating a transnational jurisdictional legal practice to both domestic and international setting.
With that, we come to the end of this very special show on global careers. I thank all my guests for having spared their valuable time, and thank you all for watching.